I have now officially completed the Barbenheimer achievement. I watched Oppenheimer first, for the laughs, obviously, and then I watched Barbie second for the deep, philosophical, and depressing approach. And needless to say, I'm not the target audience for either one of these movies, but you best believe, better bet your sweet Biffy, that I plopped my booty cheeks down in those uncomfortable movie theater seats and watched both of them. And there's this whole thing going on right now about which movie is better, and I think it goes without saying, these movies are drastically different. They're so different to the point where you can't really compare them, because Oppenheimer is like this historical documentary style of movie, and then Barbie's a comedy slash drama. The only thing they have in common is that their first products launched in Japan, and that's where the similarities begin and end. There's nothing else that connects these movies whatsoever. But the comparison, I'm still going to do it. It's like comparing apples to oranges. They're very different, but I'm still going to attempt to do it for the culture. And I'm not going to talk much about Oppenheimer in this video because I did that in a separate video all to itself. I'm going to more so talk about Barbie because it's the one I most recently watched, and it's more fresh in my mind. And I gotta say, it was a big gamble. I didn't know if I was going to be able to enjoy this movie or not. It was like sticking your penis in a glory hole. You're not too sure what the outcome's gonna be, but the upside's so good that you gotta risk it. It could have been a movie that was targeted towards children very heavily and not enjoyable for anyone over the age of 12. Or it could have been a more adultish take while still being enjoyable for kids, but in a way that adults could also enjoy it. And it was definitely the second option, and I'm very glad it was. I had a very good time, an amazing time watching this movie. Dare I say, I think I enjoyed Barbie more than Oppenheimer. There's a scene in Barbie very close to the beginning where they're talking about having a beach off, and they start talking about how they're going to beach each other off, and then Barbie says, nobody's going to be beaching each other off. And it was very fun. It's very childish humor in most parts. That's what I enjoy, though. I'm a very childish person. Someone can make a fart noise and I'm gonna laugh. So obviously this movie's comedy is right up my alley. But I feel like I have to say, if you're a pink phobe, if you're like, you hate pink, the color pink, probably stay away from this movie. I think pretty much every shot in the movie definitely every shot in the movie there is pink. Especially when they're in Barbie land, that whole place is pink because Barbie's pink. It makes sense. There's going to be a lot of pink. I believe there was even a thing that going around that said there was a pink paint shortage for a little bit because they used so much on the set. I don't know if that was true or not. It might have just been like one of those bits of misinformation that gets spread on Twitter. Well, sorry. It happens all the time. Misinformation thrives on Twitter, so it probably was that. But still, there is a lot of pink in this movie. I don't think that's a bad thing. The movie's very fun to look at. It kind of feels like you're stimulating your brain doing that TikTok thing, like the Subway Surfers on the bottom and then like the video clip on top with just so many bright colors catching your attention all the time. There's just a lot to look at in this movie, but aside from that, the plot it's very easy to follow, very straightforward. A literal infant without object permanence would definitely understand what's going on. There's not much to it. Spoiler warning, I guess. I'm going to try to not get into too many spoilers, but they're going to slip up every now and then. So if you want to watch the movie and not be spoiled, I would click off at this point. It's just your little traditional tale of Barbie. She becomes sentient and whatnot, and it somehow connects to the real world. And then they start jumping between Barbie Land and the real world, comparing them back and forth. How Barbie Land is all ran by women, and then, in the real world, women are second class, and then they kind of have this whole little battle back and forth about that. There's some fun jokes about it also in there, and all of it I think it's very well executed, but it does have this weird, drastic, sharp change at the end that did catch me very off guard. It was very heartwarming and very emotional, like it dang near brought a tear to my eye, and I'm so manly, I never cry, I never show emotions, I'm just so cold. And it tugged at my heartstrings for sure, but it did feel very out of place because it was right at the main end of the movie. They did this whole sad montage, and it was confusing, but the whole movie was good. I thought they did the whole Barbie land to real world transitions and whatnot very well. I feel like they handled that about as good as they could. The visuals, like I said, nothing was bad about that. The way they made Barbie land, they made it seem fake, but in a way that still looked good and looked visually appealing. Like it looked very great. And then also the little conflicts, they weren't serious. It was a very light-hearted movie. But there were some kind of serious moments where some real things slipped through and you were like, dang, spitting. They're spitting right now. They spitting. So just to compare it to Oppenheimer again real quick, it obviously doesn't stack up cinematically to Oppenheimer. With someone like Christopher Nolan behind the camera, it's kind of hard to compete. But still, the movie, in my opinion, just my personal preference, I like goofy movies, silly movies that don't really have any huge weight behind them. Just something you can turn your brain off and watch and not care too much about. I did enjoy Barbie more. But for someone that's like a film nerd, not in like a mean way, someone who actually enjoys good narratives, good storytelling, good visuals, and something that's actually related to something that actually happened in the real world, Oppenheimer's definitely going to be more up your alley. I feel like I'm definitely rambling at this point. I don't really want to talk about the actual key points of the movie of Barbie the same way I did with Oppenheimer, because I don't want to spoil it. The movies are very... God, I'm burpy. The movies are very fresh, and I'm just not going to talk about any of the thematic points. Even if Barbie doesn't... It doesn't really matter if you get spoiled in Barbie, because it's one of those movies you can watch regardless and still enjoy, even if you know what happens. Same thing with Oppenheimer. It got spoiled in like middle school history books, so you know what's going to happen, but still, both of the movies are very, very well executed. And pretty much all the compliments I gave Oppenheimer, I give this movie. It looks good. The acting is superb, amazing, as you would have guessed with the star-studded cast. There's just as many A-list celebrities, A-list actors in this movie as there are Oppenheimer. John Cena even makes a guest appearance as one of like the mermaid kins, which is pretty silly. It was a pretty funny moment. I laughed out loud at that part. Got a little nose exhale in there too. Just everything about both of the movies, Barbenheimer, it's a very good time. If you watch either of them, or if you watch both of them, you're going to enjoy yourself. Both of them are very fine pieces of cinema, and they're eye candy for sure. They both look good, sound good, acted good. There's just nothing bad about them. Nothing bad about either of the movies that's going to turn really anybody off from them. But regardless, that's pretty much all I have to say. I just wanted to ramble a little bit. It's definitely sounding like the ramblings of a lunatic. So I'm just going to end the video. Watch me press the button. See ya.